If you could have saved me 20% of my traffic on fraud, my company probably would have sold for $50+ million. So it was a pretty decent problem, but it's not even where it's going with AI. All right. If you don't get in front of this today, if they're not in front of this today, they're going to have to find another business. Yeah. And what I love about what you and Roger are doing, and we talked about this, is you're 3 steps ahead right now.
All right, so today we have a fantastic and amazing guest with us. So I'm joined here with Dan Zitofsky.
Well, Deeps, thanks so much for having me here. It's just an honor and blessing to come out here and meet you and the team, and just to see the culture behind the scenes. That people don't get to see the culture behind the scenes of a company, right? They see you out at trade shows, they see you at speaking events, they see you doing business. But when you do that and you really learn the culture, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I became a colleague of ClearTrust, is because behind the scenes, core values and the culture is everything. And this company it's a family. I don't see employee or employer relationship. But I come from 35 years background in business. I have a pretty extensive background, just not even in business, but also served in the US military and the Navy. I was a police officer. So I have a lot of background in different personalities, successful and unsuccessful businesses and government affiliations. And to see what works and what doesn't work. And I've been honored and blessed, I don't want to say lucky, to have been very successful in business and in life, but it didn't come easy. Right? My journey was not easy, and I don't believe anybody's, especially an entrepreneur's journey, is ever easy. I think if it's easy, you're either two things: you haven't tried hard enough, or you haven't done it long enough, because you're going to get hit in the stomach very hard, and you're going to have to learn how to come back and really be successful. And we've gotten a chance, like yesterday, you and I had a conversation for a good hour, 2 hours, about some of our journey and some of our hiccups, and you blew me away. I'm not going to give it away because I'm sure at one point people are going to get to hear your story and your journey, and it's going to empower others to realize that, we're always 3 feet from gold. And I don't want to take away, the book 3 Feet from Gold. I don't want to steal anything from Dale Carnegie, but the 3 feet from gold is so important. Mm-hmm. We always get to that point, and when things get tough, we always stop. We always quit. We always listen to the outside voices, people telling us we can't, we're not good enough. Mm-hmm. Think about all those years as growing up. Some people had great families, some people had tough families, right? I grew up in a way, I was told I was not fast enough to play football. I was not smart enough to go to college. Mm-hmm. And that always drove me further. But a lot of people, you tell that I'm not good enough, they believe it. They start to believe it. So, and then self-doubt creeps in, right? You get into business and it looks good from the outside, but from the inside out, it's not so fun, right? People don't see our sleepless nights. They don't see us not taking salaries. Right. They don't see our families scared to death that we might not be able to put food on the table. We're scared to death because we wear everything on our shoulders. Right. And we can't show that to our wives and our kids and our family because, unfortunately, very small amount of people in this world really champion for you. Mm-hmm. They really don't want to see you succeed. And you have to get around people, and I call it the inner circle. You have to form a circle of people that are positive, that want to see you, they want to champion for you. They want to see you succeed. In fact, we've talked about it, and there's people in the industry that aren't the best characters out there. But I always wish them well. I never want to see people fail. Right. I always wish them well. It might not have worked for us, but I always wish them well. And because of that, it's the positive thinking that I've been blessed enough. And I'm never going to say I'm lucky, because it's not luck. This is a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of taking chances when nobody else is willing to take the chance. Right. And that's how we got to where we're at. And your journey, once people get to know about your journey as well one day, they're gonna really have a respect for you that they might not already have had, because you've come a long way. And you're my role model. You don't know that, but I listen to you, and I talked to my wife yesterday. I said, wow, I thought I did a lot. I says, man, we connected for a reason. We aligned for a reason, because, I don't think you would have got me if I didn't get you. And I got to hear your story for the first time yesterday. And I was blown away by what you went through and how you were one day away from not being here. One day away. And I just tell you, you've done a lot for me. I don't know if you know that you've done just as much for me as maybe I've done for you, but you've done a lot for me in my life, because it makes me think, you know what? God has a way of putting people in your life for a certain reason. and we've had some private talks about why I do what I do, what my mission is, why I keep going, all these topics. We could have podcasts on every topic I'm talking about. Why it's never enough for me. When people ask you when is it enough?
I think if I recall our conversations, one thing which I could get from there is that why you don't give up, why there is never enough, and why there is a need for doing it. And especially for entrepreneurs, it comes, I think, do you think that the power of positive thinking should be with the entrepreneur, or there's a lot of dependency on the people around them? They also should think positive, because if someone has a lot of positive thinking and is surrounded by people who are kind of always trying to pull them down, can he hang on? Can he go the long way? Is it possible, or it's just the grit of an entrepreneur which kind of pulls him through?
Well, I think it's the grit, but there's a story out there, the crab. I don't know if you ever heard of the crab story, right? If you're in a crab,
I've heard.
Starts, climbing out of the pot, and all the other crabs try to pull that one crab down, right? And negative loves negative. So you're going to notice in entrepreneurship and in life, right? And I learned this a long time ago when I went to the military. They told me when you go home, the same people will be hanging out on the same street corners, doing the same things. They just don't grow in life. And over the course of your life, you've seen it because you're in this many years, just like I'm in many years. You have this big, I call it a funnel. You have a lot of people in your life, and it starts shrinking and shrinking, and really you learn it's in a circle. And I don't say it's business, because some of my best friends don't do any business. They're employees, that's what they are, but they're great people. And they champion for us, and they love us, and they're there for me. I know if I pick up a phone, they'll be there for me.
Right.
And those are the people I want to have in my life. That's what I call my inner circle. So your circle will shrink, right? And you'll start to hang out with people that become your champions, right? And those are the people that when you're going through tough times, they're going to be there with you. And that's what you want. And I always say, who's going to be in the bunker with me when I go to war? If I'm going to war, who's going to be in that bunker with me? Who's going to run and go get freedom? But who's going to sit with me? And those are the people, 3, 4, 5 years down the road when we're doing very well together. Then you hear those stories of, wow, you got lucky. I got lucky stories. I say, I got lucky. After getting kicked in the gut for 35 years and not giving up, I got lucky. I'm willing to do what you're not willing to do to live the life you want to live. That's the difference.
Right.
I had those sleepless nights. I worked 2 and 3 jobs. I wasn't there with my wife and kids to get this done. While you went out and you had fun and you went on weekends and you went drinking and you partied while I was grinding.
Right.
But now I'm lucky. Right? I get that a lot.
They say that it is luck, but actually I don't agree that it's luck. There's a lot of hard work behind when you say that you got lucky. And that is often overlooked. People don't see it, don't understand it. I also know that you have been a part of the New York the famous or the infamous NYPD, right? Yes. New York Police Department. You have been serving there and you served there. So can you tell us a couple of experiences being a police officer, how you felt, and then what did you learn from there which you are kind of bringing it back into your other life or the business life? What did you get from there?
Sure, that's a great question. Well, I was part of the police department for 6 years. Worked there. I know I went in and I didn't have the police mentality. But when I went in there, I said, I'm going to make a difference. I thought I was going to make a positive difference. And there was times I really did make a positive difference in people's lives. But ultimately in the police department, they're very big on, numbers. It's a numbers game, right? And their numbers are not helping people. It's how many tickets you can write, how many arrests you can make. And I found that I was around people with this, I had a good group of people, I should say. But for the most part, as 40,000 police officers, and for the most part, I found that I was around people that were very miserable. They weren't happy with their wives, their kids, their life. They weren't doing what I didn't want to go out and drinking every night, infidelity. And it got to the point where they were just, they thought hurting people was successful. And it just didn't align with me. And, I was in a lot of situations, but the last one was I was part of 9/11. I was in the second building when it came down. Okay. And at that point, I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm totally done. I said, and I gave up, and I've done this a couple times. Like I don't believe in the securities. And when I say the securities, it's, that 9 to 5 job where I'm going to be miserable, not like my life, not want to be there, not want to go in and not having any fortitude to really do more. Right. So I left the police department after 9/11. I had a chance to invest out and retire out of there at 6 years. I left and I went into a business. And I went into my business that was very shaky at the time. But I knew if I didn't do that, I'd probably wind up losing my wife and losing my kids in my life because I just wasn't happy. And when you're not happy in a place, you come home and you're not happy.
Right.
And the most important thing to me, my vision was, what do I want to do? And I wanted to, be around people I want to be around, doing what I want, when I want, with whom I want. And I couldn't do that with the police department. So I like that, I just left. I wound up leaving, going into business with a wife and a daughter, no income, no benefits, no pension, and just going for it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So all my friends that were police officers that hated being in the police department, because most people do hate it, because it's not fun. They had to serve 20 years plus years maybe to get a pension. So they couldn't live on their full salary. Now they were supposed to live on half their salary. So they stayed miserable until they could retire and then get sick and maybe die. And I just couldn't see that in life. That to me, my life meant too much. I have one life.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in you only live once. People say you only live once. I believe in you only die once. You live every day.
Right. No, absolutely. That's very true.
And
I think it takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts on the decision which you took.
Yeah.
Like just at the spur of the moment, leaving it and getting into a business without any assurance or guarantee of the benefits which you could have got, but you would not be getting now.
Right. Well, do any of us, when you have a business, you have a great business here in ClearTrust, do you have any guarantees or assurances here?
Right.
I mean, if you don't make something happen, you don't do something great, and you don't provide a culture here with great people that all have the same vision, there's no assurance here either.
Right.
So I think any entrepreneur takes tremendous risk. We're all risk takers. We take tremendous risks. Calculated risk, but a tremendous risks. And we just do the best we possibly could because we believe so strongly in it, while others aren't willing to believe in themselves. Right? They're not happy, but they don't believe in themselves. They're not happy, but they won't make a change.
Right.
And maybe their family doesn't believe in them.
Right.
Maybe they don't believe in themselves. Maybe they're scared of something else. But we say that, but I think we talked about yesterday my fear in life.
Yeah.
I have 2 fears in life now. I used to have 3. But the 2 fears in life, one is I won't get over its heights. I have no interest in getting over that. The juice isn't worth the squeeze for me. But my biggest fear in life is that leaving this world with something left on the table. I didn't give 150% because I was scared to fail. And I always say, what if? What if you didn't fail? Right. We just had a conversation about a potential client, right? It says, like, what if?
What if? What if?
Instead of putting your head to self-doubt, what if you didn't have that self? What if it worked out for you?
Yeah, actually, the moment you ask that question, what if, I think a lot of opportunities, a lot of insights open up and you start getting directions. In the case of a company, right, when you start building a company, you start getting the first set of employees, then you start getting more employees and slowly a team starts building up around you. How important do you think is, again, the same thing of positive thinking, the positive mindset? And I remember we spoke about the scarcity mindset and the abundant mindset also. But when it comes to positive thinking, how should the company employees look at it? Should you expect them to be positive right from the word go, or can they be trained to be positive, or it's only in the nature of a person that can you be positive or not?
Well, I think if you expect everyone to be positive all the time, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Right? So to have those expectations is failure. I think the biggest thing, and I watched you do it here at ClearTrust, is building a tremendous culture, right? And that culture is, people will live and die with you. And what I mean by that is they back you, right? They know that, Deeps has us, our best interest in heart. If something doesn't work, it's going to be okay. We're going to adjust and we're going to get it going right. They're not, the company is not, Raja and Deeps are not going to fire me because something went wrong. We're going to adjust and we're going to do that. That is a huge play in an employee, right? And what I see here is I don't see employees, I see team members. I don't think there is an employee mentality, and I have not seen an employee mentality in this organization, which I've consulted probably with over 200 companies. I've consulted with a lot of high-end CEOs, and I can't say, and that's why I'm sitting here with a ClearTrust shirt, and I would never be consulting with your company if I didn't believe this. I can't say I've gone to one company and I've seen every employee have that. and I haven't seen one here. And I think we talked about it, and I said, I don't think we have to handle that problem.
Right.
Culture here is probably the number one culture I've ever seen in a company I've worked with. And everyone here is family. Everyone looks out for each other here. Everyone wants success. Nobody has the what's in for me attitude. So I think it's building culture. If you could build a culture, and I talk about when I work with a company, there's 4 parts of it. But number 1 is culture. That's like the foundation of a property, right? Of any property is the culture. If you don't build the proper culture, then the next 3 are people, processes, and systems. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have a proper culture, it's like building a table with 3 legs or 2 legs. It's going to fall down. Right. So don't build anything else unless you build the culture. Everyone else builds systems first. We talk about that, but they don't have a culture. So your systems could be great. Your culture is terrible. It's not going to work, right? Because you're going to have people leaving for more money, right? You're going to have people leaving for potentially better opportunities, right? And those are not the people I want working for me. And in fact, if I have to recruit somebody for more money, I don't want them either, because it means that somebody's going to recruit them from me for more money. And now you're just money motivated, and that doesn't work for me in my culture. Because I learned, even in my life, that money motivation was not. I was money motivated at one time, and I still am. I think everyone has money motivation, but I was money motivated one time. Money allows you to do something, right? It could be something good or something bad. And we've talked privately about that, what it allows you to do. But if that's your only motivation because you want money, you would leave me for more money. But what are you going to do with that money? That's what I want to know. Yeah. Right, so I go deeper with them. Yeah. So positivity is tremendous here. People have hope, right? They champion for each other. They give input. They're openly willing to give input without scarcity of being fired. You've given people the opportunity to give their ideas and thoughts and run with those ideas. And if it doesn't work, they don't feel scared to be fired. So it's been great. But if you have a business with I always call it a cancer in your business, you need to cut that cancer out immediately. And the other issue I see in companies is sometimes your best salesperson in sales is the cancer, and they're scared to cut that person out, right? Because they're scared to lose those sales. But what happens is when you cut out a cancer, the team doesn't want to work with that person, and the team is faltering because of it. Right. And now you cut the cancer out, and the whole team comes together and they gel and they grow. Right. And you have to have a team atmosphere in a company. Yeah. If you're a CEO and you think you did it by yourself, that's a problem. If you think one person on a team did it by themselves, that's a problem. Right. It's a team culture. And you could just listen to how people talk. Right. If they say, I did this, I did that, I did this, or it's we did this, our team. It's not my team, it's our team, right? And that's the culture you've built here. And I've listened and I've talked to people and I've had conversations with almost everybody individual, and I've heard it in their mouths, in their words. I've seen it in their face. They light up when they talk about the company. So I'm very, very excited about where this is going. Yeah, I think, thank you so much for this, Dan. We are in a space of fraud detection, and that's a crazy space to be in. And with AI coming in, I think it's getting even more crazier. What we anticipate the next year coming in. Diverging a little from the topic, we are in the space where we work with brands, we work with direct advertisers to make sure how can we protect their media spends, their paid marketing, how can you get them the better out of it. Do you think this is a big enough problem for direct advertisers when it comes to protecting their ad spends? Because you hear different numbers in different reports. Some report says that it's a crazy problem. Somebody says, hey, it's not my problem. Only 1% fraud exists in the world. But the moment you start going deeper into it, you understand, oh my God, that is 60%. So do you think it's this is one of the cancers, I would say, in terms of paid marketing or I would say digital marketing spends, media spends across programmatic, affiliate, lead generation, all of that. It is getting crazier is what I think. So what is your opinion on this? Is it a big enough problem that we as ClearTrust are kind of taking upon? And do you think it is growing even bigger and bigger? Or do you think that people are just making up for it? Well, I think yes and no. I'm going to give you my yes and no, right? No, it's not a crazy problem, but it's going to get a lot crazier. Right. It's going to get a lot crazier. And right now, I come from the advertising space. I come from the spending money on advertising. I come from the being taken out on fraud, losing my feeds because of fraud. right? If you could have saved me 20% of my traffic on fraud, my company probably would have sold for $50+ million. So it was a pretty decent problem, but it's not even where it's going with AI. Right? If you don't get in front of this today, if they're not in front of this today, they're going to have to find another business.
Yeah.
And what I love about what you and Roger are doing, and we talked about this, is you're 3 steps ahead right now. And we talked about that. Where are you going with this right now? Don't be behind the 8 ball on this one. AI is going to destroy most of these fraud detection companies out there. Right. They're smarter than these fraud detection companies. And the problem is advertisers don't know what they don't know. They don't know what to ask, right? Lead gen companies. We spoke to a couple of the lead gen companies already, and they're saying what they're saying is the most basic, and it's destroying them. The most basic is destroying them.
The most basic, yeah.
I mean, you're 150, 160 filters in already, and it's going to keep growing. And if they don't get in front of this, and I always say it like this, if you could save somebody 20% of their fraud right now, what would that mean for them? Imagine it was only 20%.
Right.
Imagine it was only 20%. Like if you're just sending traffic right now, or you're just sending leads, if you're a lead gen company and you're just selling leads to a company like insurance or education or real estate or senior care, and we could save you 20% of your ad spend, just 20%, what would that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and that's just at the micros level right now.
The tip of the iceberg.
It's getting, like, that's why I said, yeah, it's not a big deal yet.
Yeah.
At 25+%. But where it's going, AI is going to be smarter and what's scary is there are a couple other fraud detection companies out there, and obviously I've broken them down. They're not adjusting.
Right.
They're locking you in and they're not adjusting. And they're not actually going through all your bids, right? So they're So you're getting a sampling of stuff, right? And they're stuffing. Right. They're stuffing, and it's not helping you at all. So if you're an advertiser and you're not making sure that the ad agency is using a competent fraud detection company, and you get in, if you're an advertiser or you're a lead gen company or you're a media company, you're a brand, and you're not asking that agency what they're doing, right? You're missing out on a lot.
Yeah. I think
it could be the difference of your company being shut down. It could be the difference of your company selling for a lot of money one day. Or it could be the difference of your company sticking around for generations. And that's what I say. It's like you're doing this because you've been through what I've been through.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you did it to help yourself. And now it's just taken off. Because, if you can compare you to the other fraud detection companies out there, there's nobody can do what you can do because of the filtering, the customization, right? Where other companies you can't customize. You can't add custom filters. You don't have the amount of filters that you have.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we take a lot of pride in saying that we have a lot of customization in terms of the number of filters we have. And a lot of brands, they engage with big agencies or small agencies to run their lead gen campaigns, for example, or run their programmatic campaigns. And I think the brands probably are not asking the right question to the agencies that, hey, are you doing something on fraud detection for me? Yes or no? I think only a handful of them probably are asking. And at the end of it, it's the brand who is paying on all the leads, whether it is a cost per lead campaign or a cost per install campaign or a cost per click campaign even. They keep shelling out these dollars. And the right question, I think, is not being asked. So that's why I think the brands, need to be more aware and more educated about this, that, hey, don't think that if you are paying on a cost per acquisition, a cost per lead, you don't get fraud.
Of course.
Because simple scripts can actually fill up your page with a lot of junk leads and you don't even know, and your CRM and your system are calling them and nobody's available. Right. AI can actually do it even much better. Right. They'll make it look like a human lead and they don't even know. So do you think the brands should ask some more harder questions to the agencies and kind of push them?
Sure. The brands don't know what they don't know. Right? The director of marketing doesn't know what they don't know. The chief marketing officers, they don't know what they don't know. And I saw this myself when I did a lot of advertising, right? So we saw a lot of stuffing going on. We saw a lot of fake leads coming on. And if you are into a situation where you're doing, CPL of $50 a lead, and they can generate a lead for $20, but stopping them from stuffing it for another $30, because you understand, an ad agency gets paid on spend, not on leads, right? So you really want to ask those questions. You want to be a KPI. You want to have somebody in your company understand KPIs, your key performance indicators, understand your numbers, because the bottom line is if you have, a $2 million budget and you're generating, let's say, 300,000 leads, if you could have the same $2 million budget and generate $600,000 leads, would that make a difference in your bottom line? And that's what I like working with companies. I like being their advisor and really breaking down their numbers and seeing how we can help.
Right.
And that's why I decided to, consult with ClearTrust and you guys, is because I know that if we find some nuances, you can develop filters pretty quick.
Right.
To block those bad actors. And if they're bad actors there, they're bad actors everywhere.
Absolutely.
So that's what's exciting. And what's even more exciting is with AI on the forefront, I don't know anybody that has the ability and the knowledge to handle fraud detection the way ClearTrust does.
No, I think we are doing our efforts. We're taking our strides and trying to look at what AI can bring to the table on both the sides. We are on the side of the brands. We are on the side of the direct advertisers, and of course, people are using and probably will be using AI for the other stuff against the brands and against the advertisers. So it's going to play a it's going to be a very interesting play down the road next year. We are already seeing the level of fraud increase. We are already seeing the type of attempts a bot is doing to fill up a form.
Right.
Whether it is not even fill up a form at a cost per lead campaign, but doing at a pre-bid level or at a post-bid level in programmatic, the kind of fraud is increasing. It is becoming very sophisticated and it is very, very human-like.
Right.
And I agree with you. I mean, I think at ClearTrust, what we are doing is in terms of trying to be as flexible as customizable for a brand and making sure that every use case is covered when you talk of detecting fraud, because the brand knows the best. They are spending the money. They know that, okay, this could be a very specific use case for me, a very specific problem. Can you solve it? Now, you cannot do that with a black box, which probably all our competition does.
Exactly.
And that's where we're trying to make a difference. And I think, we'll have our run, we'll have our journey.
You answered your own question. Is it a big problem? Yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah. Because it's not a big problem as bad as it's going to be in the next 1 to 3 years.
Right.
Unless you get ahead of it. So yes, that's why I said yes and no. It's not. If you think it's a problem today, this is a cakewalk compared to what's going to be in the next 1 to 3 years, unless you get ahead of it.
Right.
And because AI is faster and smarter than everybody, right? All the human beings.
Right.
And companies are locking you into these contracts, these black box contracts, and they're not making the changes. And also, they're doing samplings.
Right.
They're doing, let's be honest, they're doing samplings, right? Yeah. So they're not really working in your best behalf.
Yeah, you sample 20% of the traffic and the fraud comes in the rest 80%.
Yeah.
You don't even know what hit you.
And we see it. And and I could say this with certainty, is not theory, is when I talk to these, direct advertisers right now, we see their numbers, right? We go through their stats, we see it.
Yeah.
We see what they're seeing. And ultimately, they're losing whatever it might be. They lose a Google feed. It's because there's a Yahoo feed, they're sampling, right? So when you send any junk to those feeds, you're going to lose the feed. You're going to get a clawback.
Right.
And right now, as we're doing this podcast, it's fourth quarter, 2024.
Right.
And right now, there's a lot of clawbacks going on.
Yeah.
We're seeing that. And because you do, and if you're doing a sampling and you're sending junk, you're going to get bit. But the problem is with AI, they're smarter than most people. They're smarter than most companies. And they're getting around your filters right now. And if you don't adjust your filters and have customized filters right now, you're going to miss. And if you're going to miss, you're going to have a big problem in the next 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, I think sometime back you had this sudden bot attacks like meth bot attack which happened, which some people detected and then everybody kind of worked their way around it. I'm very, very sure that come next year, there'll be a major fraud which will be happening somewhere in terms of programmatic or lead gen. And people won't even know what hit them. I think for the brands, anybody who's listening to this podcast, the message which we would want to put across is that come 2025, your landing pages are not secure, whatever way you look at it. You need to be prepared. You need to figure out more flexible and customizable ways to prevent your landers from getting hit, whether through an incoming fraudulent click, whether through an incoming lead, whether through an incoming install. You need to be prepared, and trust me when I say this, you guys don't even know where it's heading. It's going to be very scary, very I would say very sophisticated kind of attacks would happen, right from when it gets to a creative, where it gets to a click, where it gets to an impression, where it gets to a lead. It's going to be very, very different in 2025. So
now we scared them. How do they help themselves?
As AI probably attacks your pages or comes with different kind of formulations to screw your media buying spends, you need a very strong contemporary AI solution, which is, I would say, an agentic and a reasoning solution on your side to prevent this from happening. Talk to ClearTrust. We may have something very new coming in 2025.
That's pretty exciting, because I'm enamored with this, right? Because I only know so much about AI. It's not new. It's been out for many years, but over the last 2 years, it's gotten very popular, right, in the industry, right? AI was around for many years. I mean, listen, we got phones. You ask Siri. You have Amazon. You ask Alexa, right? These questions. That's AI, right? But now it's being used. It's being used for so much, but it's also being used for. It's like anything else, right? Social media could be good and bad. It's being used for a lot of bad as well. Right. It's being used for very good, and it's being used for very bad. And now I hear this, and everything I hear about AI, a lot of it scares me, right? Because of what could happen. And I've seen the cyber attacks. I've seen them happen already. And we've talked about this, and I love that you're, like I said before, you're 3 steps ahead of where the industry is. You're already working on 2026, what you think is going to happen. 2025, you're already done. You've already come up with your plan. 2026, what happens after? And that's what I love about what's happening. And I don't see anybody else doing that. So, if I'm here, that means a lot in the industry. If I'm here with ClearTrust, saying I'm going to consult with ClearTrust and help them, it means I wouldn't do it unless I truly believe there was something to help with. Because I don't need to. I always tell people I'm not employable. I don't need to do this. I have to be with a group of people that I believe they have the talent, the foresight to see what's coming and to prevent it, and they have to have a great culture. And that's why I decided I wanted to be part of this. And exciting. I wanted to do something exciting.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much for this. I mean, I would have a last question for you. Do you have what is the advice you would give to brands and advertisers for the next quarter and the year after?
It's a great question, right? For the next quarter, I would say first quarter 2025, right? I would start now. I would start planning for 2025, and I would do a very detailed audit. Get with somebody, whoever it might be, to do a detailed audit of your accounts, your spend, and coming up with a plan for the future, and backing out that plan to where you want to be, right? Look at your KPIs, your key performance indicators. Where do you want to be with your campaign? Where do you want to be with your budget? And what would help you, right? How do we get, I'm going to say this, get with somebody at ClearTrust, or whoever you decide to work with. I'm going to say ClearTrust because I know what they're doing. That's why I'm part of this. And get with them, have them audit your campaigns, see if there's any potential of what they could do to help you in your campaigns to both save money, increase revenues for your business, and become part of that. But if it's not them, whoever you decide to work with, really take an active control. Don't let a company handle this for you without you being part of it. If you don't have somebody on your team part of it, bring somebody in that understands this, right? Rather than just handing your budget to another company and letting them do the work for you and not knowing what you're doing. It's like driving on a road trip without navigation, right? If you could save, and I always ask people, if I could save you 20% on your ad budget from fraud, what would that do for you? If I could increase your leads by 20 to 30%, what would that do for your business? Would that move the needle at all? And the cool thing about ClearTrust is, everybody here, I know them, I see them, they get on the phone, they'll sit with you, they'll audit your account, they're not going to charge you to do that. And they'll see if there's an opportunity. And I've also heard some people say, we're not the right fit for you, right? So they're not going to just sell you something to sell you something. That doesn't benefit them at all. So I highly recommend right now you do this, because we're at the end of 2024. Go into the first quarter with a bang. Go into the first quarter with a plan in place, and just keep growing, keep learning, keep adjusting. Don't be scared to adjust. understand that in 6 months from now, what we're talking about today will probably be different. If you listen to this podcast in the third quarter of 2025, you might think we're crazy. We don't know what we're talking about because we might be behind the scenes. But like, once again, you're already into 2026 planning.
Right, yeah.
So that's the company I want to be with, the company that has the foresight in advance to adjust and know where the market's going.
Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds so good. And I think, there's a clear direction for the advertisers. There's a clear mandate. There's a mandate for us to keep improving their life, their revenue. And then I think they also should get more educated, more aware in terms of how they are looking at their media spends. It is not a salesy thing is what we are trying to tell you. And if you're an advertiser looking at this, all we are trying to tell you is that people don't look at their media spends. They don't monitor it even effectively today. You might not be doing it. You may be doing it. Somebody in your team may be doing it, may not be doing it. I think this is a mantle you need to kind of hold on, look at it a little more closely. You might find some very interesting surprises right there hidden in front of you. That's all I would have for now today. Signing off from this podcast with Dan, and we'll see you again in episode 5.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.